All right, so now we're going to talk about how to set this up for a patient. And so we're going to pretend that this is our patient's lungs right here. And it's also a great way if you want to get more comfortable using the Hallowell and practice and you don't want to do it on a live patient, you can always just take a reservoir bag and put it on the end of your circle system. And so what we're going to do is have our bag or our patient pretend lungs here. And we've got our oxygen on, we have our pop-off valve closed, we have our breathing system hooked up correctly, and then we have our scavenge system, our exhaust gases hooked up to our scavenge system. So we're all good to go, and we've got our little pressure regulator here on the inspiratory limb of the machine, which detects how much pressure is actually in the bellows when it fires. So with these machines, what I typically recommend is that you go ahead and turn right here, it's a volume knob. And so I recommend you go ahead and turn this knob all the way to the right, which is basically no volume. So very limited gas is going to be compressed. So it's a good safety way to start, then you won't overpressurize your patient. And then I usually say start at about 10 breaths per minute. And then this little guy right here says maximum working pressure limit, and you just want to leave that at 20 centimeters of water, and it will beep at you and the light will come on if your circuit goes above 20 centimeters of water. So we can go ahead and turn it on, the green light will come in, green light will come on, you need to make sure this is also hooked up to your electricity. And so it's trying to fire a breath right now, you can probably see it and hear it, but it's not really delivering hardly any volume. And so let's say we have a dog that's, 10 kilos, so its tidal volume is going to be 100 mils or 10 mil per kg. So what I'm going to do is, let me talk about this alarm really quick. So there's an orange alarm that will go off right now, and what the machine is saying when you hear that ambulance siren noise is the machine is saying, hey, you turned me on, you're asking me to ventilate a patient, but I am not generating pressure in this circuit. So basically it's the machine's way of saying either you disconnected the patient accidentally and you're not reaching a tidal volume you want or a pressure in the circuit you want, or it's saying, hey, you need to turn up your volume because you're not generating any pressure in the patient. So let's try it again. Turn the machine on. And so it's going to take a second for that bellows to fill. If you're impatient like me, you can just go ahead and turn your oxygen up a lot higher and make that bellows fill up really quick. So it's giving us that alarm again and saying, hey, you're not generating any pressure. So I'm going to turn the volume up a lot. And probably on the next breath, so on the next breath, it gave us a different alarm. So let's hear it. We'll do it again here in a second. Okay, so you hear like the solid beep. Okay, that's a different way, a different thing Hallowell is trying to tell us. And what it's saying now is, hey, you're going over your maximum working pressure. I can tell that you're going over 20 centimeters of water. Stop, you need to turn your volume down because you're expanding your lungs too much. So I'm going to turn it back on again, and we said we wanted to, I think, do 100 mils as a tidal volume. So I know I'm going to have to turn my volume down, and I'll keep going down a little bit more because I was closer to 200. And we'll see what this breath gets us. It's probably going to be, it's like kind of Goldilocks trying to find the sweet spot. But basically you can just change your volume up or down until you get to the tidal volume you want. And what I always say is there's a 3-check system for positive pressure ventilation. Anytime you put a patient on a ventilator, I want you to just calculate what their tidal volume should be. So if it's a 10 kilo dog and their tidal volume is 10 mils per kg, well then we should roughly be going to 100 mils, which looks like we are. The second thing I want you to check is your actual pressure manometer. And you should be going to about 10 centimeters of water as a good starting place. So I want you to check visually, hey, I'm giving the tidal volume I want. And then I want you to check your pressure regulator, your manometer, and make sure that it's going to the pressure you expect. And then the third thing I want you to do is actually look at your dog or look at your cat and look at their lungs. Well, I mean, you can't really see their lungs unless you have x-ray vision, but look at their chest and make sure when you see a breath being delivered, you're like, oh yeah, that looks like how they would be breathing normally. And then you take those three things into consideration with your capnograph, and you want to make sure your end tidal CO2 is 35 to 45. And if your CO2 is too high, then you need to ventilate them a little bit more. And if your CO2 is too low, then we need to ventilate them a little bit less. But that's kind of a general good, I think, starting point for how to ventilate your patient.